Well, hello everybody, and welcome to what may be the inaugural edition of the Wealth Doctors. I'm the only wealth doctor in the room, but we're assisted by some really bright people today. And we're going to try to make this a regular segment with interesting, informative, and easy to understand wealth and financial education that we think is important to our clients. First of all, I'd like to introduce our newest addition to our brilliant personal wealth advisor staff, Lou. Lou, how do we pronounce your last name?
Vercel.
Lou Vercel. I could have done that. That wasn't so hard, right? And Lou actually is a certified financial planner, certified by the Canadian CFP board. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So he's got to do some paperwork. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, FP Canada. That's the governing body.
Financial Planning Canada. Yeah. So he's got to do a little bit of paperwork for the US CFP board, but I expect that will be done in short dispatch. But we're really excited to welcome Lou and also to expand our PWA or the Personal Wealth Advisory section to have more folks available to you faster. So it's a little bit different for us. Troy Lurch, our Director of Financial Planning, and Leslie, many of you has spoken to Leslie. But we're going to try to get this so it's more accessible to you, so you may hear from different people at different times, different may respond to you, and this is all in an effort to make our service more comprehensive and more accessible and more timely to you. Lou, tell us a little bit about yourself. You worked most recently for a bank in Toronto, is that right?
Yeah, I moved down here from Canada recently. I work from Bank of Montreal up in Ontario, and I'm a certified financial planner in Canada. Hard to believe, but going into 8 years in the business almost, and excited to join the Camarda family, and excited to work with the clients.
Yeah, we're awfully proud and honored and feel fortunate to have you, Lou. After a pretty long search, we have gotten really picky. I guess we always were, but even pickier in terms of our standards and the folks that work with us. And with a long search to add an additional PWA to the team, Lou came highly recommended by a couple other folks that we respect very much. So we're really excited to add him. I'd also like to introduce, somewhat belatedly, my good friend John Tucker. I've known John for many years, since Dylan was, my goodness, a wee tiger or something, right?
Yes.
And John and I share a love of BSA. Is it now BSA America? Which used to be the Boy Scouts.
Scouts BSA.
Scouts BSA. And John is far more active than I am. He runs a number of their camps, and he's also the committee chair for the troop that Dante is now a Life Scout in, and hopefully will matriculate as Eagle later in the spring. But John also is, is a friend and a trusted resource. And when you're not scouting, your primary business is in Medicare supplement type insurance, right?
I'm an independent broker, contracted with pretty much all the companies here in the Jacksonville area, and my expertise has been for the last 15 years is providing that information in regards to Medicare itself. Good.
So thank you so much. And this is really sparked by, the old wealth doctor is himself turning 65 in a month or so. So it becomes important, and I have not really been conversant with health insurance in decades, but it's important, especially for folks, our clientele are mostly retirees or near retirees, and this is an area that we really haven't spent a lot of time educating you on. So I'm I'm glad that we have the opportunity to get to know John and what the options are. And in a few minutes, I'm going to go through a very detailed interview with him when wife and partner Kim joins us, which I think will be very useful to you in terms of your own health insurance decisions as you're in retirement. John, before we get into the nitty-gritty of how to make a post, Medicare age health insurance decision, which is a really important decision, with a lot of ramifications as we'll get into. But give us a little bit of background. You've been an insurance professional for a while, haven't you?
Yes, 15 years. Got started actually with a company as a captive agent, which means I do sell their products and their products only. After about a year and a half of that, I got tired of telling people how great one company was when I know there's plenty of other companies I'm not doing right by my clients.
So you didn't have access to the best from any place in the marketplace. You were forced, if you work at Burger King, you can't sell any Big Macs, period, right?
Got to do it their way.
Yeah.
instead of the way it's right for my clients. And being an independent broker for the last 13 and a half years has given me the opportunity to sit down with somebody, find out what their needs are, and being able to have the portfolio of all these different companies, find the plans that match what their needs are, and make sure that my clients are the ones taken care of and not the insurance company.
Which I really appreciate. That's kind of a quasi-fiduciary focus. And, Camarda does not recommend other professionals lightly. It's kind of been part of our reputation. If we give a referral to somebody, our clients expect it to be well considered. And if not, if there's some problems, it blows back on us. So we're very careful. So integrity and professionalism, knowledge is really, really important to us. And again, this interview was sparked by the fact that I need to buy Medicare, either Medicare Advantage or a Medigap. I think it'll be Medigap, we'll see. And I had decided to buy it from John because I trust him, and because he's very knowledgeable, and because he really has a client's first focus, as opposed to selling whatever makes him the most amount of money. And again, as fee-only fiduciaries, we don't share in any insurance commissions or other remuneration. You know exactly what you pay us for the advice, and that's the only compensation we receive. So if we make a recommendation, it's because we think it's good for you, not because we're getting paid. So that we can't. You may not be aware of this, but Florida has, not recently anymore, but a while ago, changed their insurance licensure. So if you can be a fiduciary insurance advisor and get fees, but you can't be appointed with any company taking commissions. It's one or the other. And that's what our license is.
And from my standpoint is, yes, I am paid by the insurance companies for any plan that they sign up for, but my services to my clients are always at no cost to them. Again, whether I sell them something or not, that's not the concept here. The concept is making sure those clients
and
are
the reality of
taken
health
care of.
insurance marketplaces, you can't get decent products that are not commission based. That's really been a problem in the insurance industry, in my view, for a long time. It's because that's such a bigger market. There's a much greater diversity of quality product there.
But one of the great things about the way the Medicare system is set up, it doesn't matter which company I sell the product from. The rates are set by the government on the commission side, so there is no stirring to one company or the other due to the fact that, as you say, I get paid more for this one or that one. It's cut and dry across the board.
That levels the playing field, so you're just selecting what you think is best.
It's all about the client, what their needs are.
Excellent, good. And this is about the questions I need to ask, as many of you may want to ask for yourselves. What should I do about my health insurance now that I'm 65 years old? So I guess the first question is, we currently, because I'm employed and probably will be enslaved to employment for many decades, I participate in our health insurance plan, right? So John, the first thing is, do I have to get rid of that, or what does that do?
No, you do not. The first question I always ask any of my clients would be, what are you paying for your current health coverage?
Too much.
Versus what it would cost you on the Medicare side, and do that analysis first. So from that standpoint,
so I've got the choice to wait on Medicare. I don't have to take it right away.
That is correct.
And what about the insurance company? Is that something that they're going to force me out at 65, or they'll keep me there if I'm going to keep paying them?
I think we can stay on. I haven't, they thought, because a lot of people will or have opted out of our plan once they've gotten to age 60.
And his, or her recommendation was it's probably cheaper to do something else?
For us, we haven't explored the cost, but I'm imagining we're in the old grandfather plans before all the ACAs, I don't think it was Affordable Care Act.
Obamacare.
Yes. And a lot of the benefits in there are very rich, but of course we pay for them. And the conundrum we've always been in is oftentimes trying to look for savings has meant a drastic reduction from the coverages, increased deductibles, and not really seeing the premium savings for what we're giving up.
Remember, I told you she had nothing to say. She said before she walked. Right. always play it like this. She's great.
And that's one of the biggest areas where Medicare does come into play here.
Let me interrupt you for a second. So, just as to systematize this, the first step we have, if you currently have health insurance with an employer, then you do cost-benefit ratio or analysis between keeping that or doing something different, right?
Correct.
Okay, so please expand on.
And as you were stating about deductibles and stuff, a lot of the group plans or the employer plans have a high deductible before the plans actually kick in, where Medicare itself, its deductible is only $226 starting in 2023 as its deductible.
But I couldn't do both. I couldn't use piggyback on a low Medicare deductible and keep my existing insurance. Or
Yes,
could
you can.
I can.
You can do both. Because what you are signing up for when you go on to Medicare is what's called Original Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
And that is parts A and B.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that, that becomes your primary insurance. And now, whatever.
So my employer insurance winds up being a supplement.
Yes, it'll be a secondary insurance. Or, as you were talking about before, a Medigap type plan, or doing what the other area could be, which would be what's called Medicare Advantage. Those are those plans you see popping up all over the TV with all these extra benefits.
Don't confuse me. I'm easily confused, John. So the first question is, if I have existing coverage, do I keep it as a supplement to Medicare? And then would I want to even think about a Medigap plus supplement on top of that too to fill in some holes or not?
No, I would either go with one or the other because they're not going to work in conjunction.
All right, so decision one is I go with Medicare and I have a supplement, whether it's my employer's insurance or I purchase a separate policy depending on my circumstances.
Correct.
And then option B is Medicare Advantage, which is really a horse of a different color, is it
Yes,
not?
it
All right,
is.
tell us about that.
Where Medicare Advantage is what you're doing is you're not on Original Medicare anymore. You're now going to a Medicare plan that's been approved by the government on a yearly basis that has to follow all the same rules that Medicare does, but it's being given to you by one of the insurance companies. So they do have their networks and everything else that come along
So it
with
could be
those
more
plans.
restrictive. And
It could be.
We currently have been we've been using Mayo Clinic here in Jacksonville. That may be changing, but I don't want to say stern letter, I got a letter from Mayo that basically says, if we take Medicare, we do not take Advantage. You'll be restricted to...
In the Jacksonville area, you are correct. Mayo Clinic is not in network with any of these plans. But a company that's on par with Mayo Clinic, if you haven't heard of, is like Cleveland Clinic.
Okay.
They are in network with all these plans. They're a Mayo type based
Are they
system.
in Cleveland or are they in Jacksonville?
They're 4 hours south here in Boynton Beach.
Boynton.
Yes, so it is an option that's there with the Advantage plans, but again,
But so
we're going to go back to your needs and what your needs are and match the plans that go
But
with that.
so in your in your opinion, does it really depend on, do you have the providers in the Advantage in order to consider that, or are there other things?
I will not talk about a plan with a client that does not have their doctors in network. What good's a plan if you can't get the care you need when you need it?
But those networks change, right? So my doctor may be there now, and
It could be there,
tomorrow, right?
but again, one of the things that are there is what's called a PPO type plan that gives you the ability to go outside a network if necessary. So we're not being completely restrictive when we talk about Advantage plans. Again, but with those plans, you have a little bit higher co-pays than you do with some of the
So
other
it's not a
plans.
simple choice. So do you have a preference for supplements over Advantage, or is it very case specific?
It is case specific. Just because something's good for you doesn't necessarily make it good for your neighbor, and vice versa. It's all about what your needs are and matching those needs to whatever plan that's out there.
So I guess there are probably some pretty good Advantage plans that are out there, right?
Yes, there is.
So that are comparable with employer health insurance.
That is correct.
Now I've heard though that once you go, it's kind of hard to unwind that. If you go the Advantage route, it's really difficult to get back to Medicare. Is that
Okay. So in regards to that, when you turn 65, you're in what's called guaranteed issue time frame. For the first 6 months past you turning 65, you're guaranteed issue a Medicare gap plan, a supplement. After that 6 month, you must go through underwriting in order to qualify for it. So if you do have health issues that could
Which is typical.
Yes, as you get older.
When you get to the geezer age, like me.
That is no doubt about it. So
So I've got I've got to pass for the first 6 months. After that, I've got to be under it, then I may be denied a rating, right?
Correct.
A rating means they jack up the premiums based on your health condition. And then what if I want to go back to Medicare?
if from the supplement back to Advantage.
Well, not
or-
from Advantage back to Medicare. Are you describing a supplement, or are we describing
Well,
Advantage?
the supplement, just to go back to original Medicare, you can do that on a yearly basis during annual enrollment. All you have to do.
So I have a 6-month pass both for supplement and for Advantage.
Correct. Well, when you're turning 65, you're in what's called initial enrollment period. 3 months prior to turning 65 and 3 months after. That is the time frame you can enroll in Medicare Part B, which is part of the Medicare system.
Mm-hmm.
You get Part A automatically when you turn 65. That's the money you contributed over the years that you're working. Part B costs you $164.90
But in
a
terms
month.
of worrying about being rated or underrated, tell me more about that. So I can get it to either one within that 6-month window,
You're with Advantage plans, there's no pre-existing conditions
even after the 6 months.
even after the 6 months.
So basically, those are priced for sick people.
Correct.
They have to be, right?
Correct. You're able to go on, change plans on a yearly basis, no questions asked.
But
no
supplements
pre-existing.
aren't. Supplements are
Supplements
cheaper
are
in the
not.
first 6 months. After that, you're probably going to pay more.
With the Affordable Care Act, as you remember, they talked about pre-existing conditions. Well, Medicare supplements technically is not primary insurance, so they do not have to follow the rules of pre-existing conditions with the Affordable Care Act. So they're able to, as we talked about, rate or deny
But again,
clients
so
coverage.
is that after 6 months or from?
That's after 6
All right,
months.
so the rule for this is that if you want to go the supplement way and and have Medicare, it's a lot cheaper probably during that 6-month window than after. So
It is based off of age.
yeah. So then if I decided to do Advantage and I'm saying the same price now, whatever, it's the same price for everybody, right? And then I didn't like it and wanted to go back to Medicare after 6 months, after this window closes, and wanted to get a supplement, then I'm at risk of paying a lot more for the supplement than if I did it at the get-go.
Correct.
Is that true? Okay, good.
Yes.
So if you have issues, important to pay attention to the planning within that first 6 months.
And that's where sitting down and finding what the needs are and making sure we match what those needs are.
And
As you said, with you mentioning Mayo Clinic right away, again, that's where we're going to talk mainly about supplements because that's where your needs are and what's going to pay for your needs that you have. That Mayo Clinic is that option that you want to make
So
sure.
when we offline, and when and our viewers that have an interest in this, if they reach out to you, and so what's the process that you would go with me and my 20 years from Medicare wife to help us decide the best plan for our family?
Well,
what do we do?
Well, like I said, the first thing we're going to talk about is who your doctors are, which hospitals you want to use. Let's narrow it down to what your specific needs are. What's your history of all that, how you're going to use your plan, what is the most important things to you, and then we've now narrowed it down to, okay, now we're talking about this plan, this plan, this plan, or this plan, because those are the only ones that go to your needs.
That'll meet the basic needs, and then
Correct.
you look at which
Now
ones are
we look at the
optimize
pros and cons of the different options within the ones that are left and make sure that you decide. Because it ain't about what I decide, it's what you decide is best for you.
And how long does that process usually take? Maybe half an hour?
About a half an hour, 45 minutes after we get into the nuts and bolts.
And then you get back with proposals and pricing and your
I
recommendations.
will actually have all that right then and there. It's cut and dry on what it is, being able to give you what the cost of the supplements are and what the Advantage plans are, because the Advantage plans, again, they're cut and dry on the cost no matter what your age is.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of those plans are these zero premium besides what they take out of Part B, so you don't pay anything extra for those.
Right, but you do have, deductible issues and others.
You have co-pays along with those. It's a pay-as-you-go type system.
Do you have any questions beyond that?
No, I guess more of it will come down to when you get the plans in front of you, looking at the different deductibles versus cost. And
Right.
I imagine prescription drugs, right, which can become a big thing.
That is one of the things with Medicare supplements. Prescription coverage is not part of that system. You have to buy separately what's called a standalone prescription plans. And those range anywhere from $7 a month up to $70, $80 a month, depending on which plan you choose. And again, that goes back to what prescriptions are you taking. Let's find the one that matches what your prescriptions are. It's going to save you the most money.
Gotcha. And then the other question is, so I infer that virtually all healthcare providers will take Medicare, but so you've got a wider pool there, but with Advantage you're limited to the network. Is that
Yes.
generally?
generally, and then when you're talking about networks versus those that accept Medicare, those that don't accept Medicare, because technically Mayo Clinic does not accept what's called Medicare assignment. They do not accept Medicare. So what they're allowed to do is charge 15% above what Medicare says the going rate is for a procedure or something.
But at the end of the day, I can use Medicare for that, but I have to pay some extra, right? So,
Correct.
So the pool is, with Medicare, it's pretty much all providers, pretty much, but with Advantage, you're limited to
My
it.
question would be when they say they don't accept assignment, that conjures up scary things of like, oh, are they? Because you're used to, oh, they're just doing all the billing processing for me. So does that
Good
mean
point.
that I have to
Collect from the
submit
government?
things and collect from the government, or?
Okay, so what
IRS isn't involved in this, so are they?
No, they're not.
Goodness.
No, what happens is let's say you're going to Mayo Clinic, you have a Medicare supplement that goes with your original Medicare. So they still bill Medicare, and then because you have a supplement on there, Medicare kicks the remainder of that bill over to United Healthcare or Aetna or whatever company your supplement is with.
Okay.
And then at that time, they will pay the remainder of that bill on the rates that are there. And if it's a plan that covers that extra 15% that Mayo Clinic's allowed to charge, they will pay that extra.
So Mayo will collect both from the government and from the supplement insurance company, or from us if we don't have the supplement.
Correct. And then if there is any little bit that's left over, they will bill you for that, but it's usually 1 or 2% at the most.
Plus
is
their
what
RRs, plus their RRs.
that.
Any other questions?
No. It's obviously a lot to think about because at the
It
end
is.
you could end up with Medicare, a supplement, and a prescription plan, right?
I think there's a drug plan on Medicare too, is it not?
Yeah, the Advantage plans have prescription coverage built into those,
Okay.
so you don't have to get those.
But that's Advantage. But does Medicare have?
Yeah, they have the standalone prescription plans. That's what's out there.
So again, it's heady stuff, but it's an important decision, and our job is hopefully to help you simplify this and make a good decision if it's at the point in your life where it's important to you. So our next step is going to be to sit down with John. We'll schedule this once we go off camera and kind of go through the nitty gritty of what I need and what our evolving health care situation is, and try to make a good decision. And those of you that are watching that have an interest in this, we're happy to refer you to John if you wish, and he doesn't charge for this. If he's able to satisfy you and get you what you want, he gets paid. If not, that's just the way of the business world.
That is correct. And just to go off of something you said earlier during the first one.
Can I ask one final question before
Sure,
we
you
go
can.
on? And you are licensed in Florida only or other states?
I'm licensed in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, North Carolina,
So if we
Indiana,
have a client
Idaho.
in Colorado or
I can-
Wyoming, how fast you can serve them? Or
Yes, I can.
All right, so he's been basically available nationwide and happy to chat with you by phone or video, I'm sure. Now, where are we wandering off to?
Where we're wandering off to is, as you said earlier, about reputation and everything else. And that's where the concept of my business comes into here. I can do this right 99 times. The minute I do it wrong one single time, that's the reputation you get. And I can't afford my reputation to be spoiled. Most of my business comes by referrals. I'm making sure I do right by my clients to make sure that my reputation does not get messed up.
Yeah, and certainly if there's something that you need help with, you know how responsive I am and how intolerant of lack of excellence, so feel free to ring my bell. It's probably time to wrap this up. I hope you all enjoyed this, and you can look forward to a lot more of the Wealth Doctor segments as we process through 2023. Thank you all, and God bless you. Be safe. Bye-bye.